first 18 months, I think I made almost $1 million. That was all part-time, just right here from working from home. I mean, it was amazing. A nice little side hustle to diversify income streams. I already had a very successful business in direct sales. So what happened is the provider was running a Ponzi scheme.
Hey there, friend. You're listening to the Hot Mess Hotline, and this is Stephanie Crevens. You are totally in the right place if you're an ambitious leader who wants to pull off a big transformational project. We teach you how to lead with strategy, innovation, and focus for new business results, digital transformation, tough decisions, and so much more. Whatever you're working on, we've got hard-earned lessons from executives that you can learn from today and put it into practice when this episode is over. Today's guest is Jack Gibson, an international serial entrepreneur and financial thought leader. He began his entrepreneurial journey at 19 and built up his multi-million-dollar company before he could even rent a car. After a series of stock market setbacks, he became obsessed with learning everything about real estate investing and built yet another multi-million-dollar portfolio that we're going to talk about today. But really what he wants you to know about him is that he is a proud parent to 2 boys who make it their lifelong mission to bring out his inner teenager. When he's not playing around with them or focused on his business adventures or relationship with his wife, he's playing high-stakes poker, including competing in the World Series of Poker, and sending himself down some snowboard jumps in order to land himself in the ER, too. Jack loves to share how he's both perfect and successful, both risky, and he's both taken risks, but also won a lot in life. He's going to share with us one of those really tough lessons today, where he turned those mistakes into lessons that he can teach other folks. So friends, I want you to listen into this conversation. There's one asset class that we're going to talk about today that is the key to a long, successful life. Let's dig in. All right, Jack, tell us about your hot mess.
We're diving right into it, huh?
Oh, we just go right in. Yes. I don't know another way, unfortunately.
Yeah, got it. Let's just get right into the action. Yeah,
Yes.
I had been an entrepreneur for quite a long time. I built up a direct sales business from age 19 to 15 years in, and finally I decided to branch off and do something else. So I started looking into real estate investing, and I found some really great deals about 3 hours from me in Indianapolis, great cash flow market for buying property and rental property, and kept coming up across the country as top 5 markets. So I said, okay, this is my place. So I took a trip down, I met up with some people, and then I started buying up properties from one of the turnkey providers. And essentially what turnkey is where you buy a property where everything's already been done for you. It's kind of like great for inexperienced investors, especially because you don't have to mess around with contractors. You don't have to figure out, like how to acquire a property. You don't have to manage it, place tenants, all of that. All of those things that are risky for new people are taken out of the equation. So you're just buying a property that's finished. It's been rehabbed. It's been checked out. Typically it's been inspected. And then a lot of times too, it already has tenants placed. So you're buying from day one a cash flow producing asset. So that kind of sets the stage. I was getting really, really strong returns right out of the gate. And I was excited. I mean, it was some of the best returns that I had ever seen in, as far as my investing career. And so naturally, as an entrepreneur, I started telling everybody that I could about it. And I was just excited. And so I started sending a lot of referral business to the provider. And then essentially I was essentially an affiliate. I wasn't his business partner. I didn't have any equity in his company or anything like that. It was an affiliate relationship. I would send investors, and they would meet with him. They knew who they were doing business with. They would buy properties from him. So that was going really well. I referred $5 million in my first, I want to say 12 to 15 months, just through my own network. That was just purely over the past 20 years, I'd worked really hard to build up my relationship capital. You know,
Yes.
I look at that as it's it's the best way to convert into economic capital or money, right? Is having great relationships with people that know, like, and trust you. And I had
Mm-hmm.
a great database of people that just knew what I stood for, my values, and trusted me. So they were buying up property like crazy. I was getting commission. At first, I was just getting, I want to say, discounts off my own property purchases. And then it turned into, well, I wasn't buying any more properties, so give me the money. So he
Okay.
started sending
Yes.
me, essentially marketing fees, affiliate fees. And I was stacking up cash pretty dramatically. I mean, first 18 months, I think I made almost $1 million. That was all part-time, just right here from working from home. I mean, it was amazing. A nice little side hustle to
Mm-hmm.
diversify income streams. I already had a very successful business in direct sales. So this was something new, exciting, different, and fun. And well, it was fun
Yes.
until it wasn't. So essentially, what happened is the provider was running a Ponzi scheme. So he was not actually rehabbing any of the properties the way he said he would. I mean, he took pictures to show it, but it was essentially just putting lipstick on a pig. He was putting the
Uh-huh.
carpet, painting, carpet, flooring, just making them look nice, but nice for C-class property, right? Nice for lower income tenants. But at the same token, he didn't do any of the infrastructure, all the expensive stuff that really makes a huge difference on your long-term return on investment. All of the
Yes.
infrastructure like electrical, HVAC, foundations, roofs, all of that stuff.
Sewer lines.
Yeah, 100% of that.
Yes.
We had definitely had issues with those too. So when it kind of what happened in terms of where we all just realized like, oh, this is not good. One morning, and I had started to suspect, I thought they were unorganized. I thought they were taking on too much business, but there was never really a part where I'm like, this is a fraudulent operation. And
Okay.
so
Mm-hmm.
one day I wake up and I have like 10 texts from investors that I had referred, and they're asking me, have you seen your rent statement? Like, what's happening? Because everybody's rents in 1 month dropped from pretty much 100%. You're getting 100% of your rents down to 30%, 20% of your rents
Oh,
from,
wow.
from 1 month to the next, right? That doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense. That's not typically how it's going to go across the board. I mean, you're going to lose a tenant here and then replace a tenant here, but you're never going to have a wholesale mega drop like that. So what happened is
Yep.
essentially
And just real quick, and
yeah,
this, so Jack, real quick, sorry, this guy was also the property manager as well?
correct. Yeah, because a turnkey providers, a lot of times
Oh,
they do all of that. They do the
okay.
acquisition, they do
Okay.
they have the rehab, and then they also do the property management as well in-house a lot of times.
Okay.
So he
Okay.
was
That's helpful.
actually,
Thank you for
yeah,
educating
no, you
me.
need that context for sure.
Yep.
So essentially, when what happened is he was operating, he didn't have a license of his own. His had gotten revoked. And so he was operating under a property management or a realtor's license of another guy. Well, that guy, he started to get uncomfortable with what he was seeing and how everything was being managed. So he took away all of the management, and he essentially just said, I'm taking this over. Well, when he took it over, all of a sudden, he paid out whatever rents that he was getting, and he wasn't getting much. So
Mm,
so everybody's starting to ask the question, like, why did our rents drop so much? What happened? This doesn't make sense. And the only logical conclusion is that he was just paying out fake rents. And why would somebody do that? That doesn't make sense either. Well, you look at the motivation. If I can keep paying out fake rents to people just to keep them happy, they're going to be buying more properties. And if they buy more
mm-hmm.
property and I don't put that money into the rehab, then I can keep a lot bigger chunk of that property sale profit. And then I'll just take some money out of that kitty and just keep people appeased. So I'm going to pay them out their rents. essentially paying them out rents with their own money that was supposed to go into the rehabs. So that when that all kind of became known and we were all aware of what happened, we started looking at our properties and realized that there were no properties that had electrical functioning, plumbing functioning, had good solid roofs, right? Like nothing of the infrastructure worked. And the tenants that were
Wow.
in those properties, I mean, they were absolutely in a bad way. And a lot of them were squatting, weren't paying because a lot of the stuff didn't work. So yeah, it was a hot mess.
Oh, wow. And so, I mean, in terms of relationship capital with karma in the world, like, I'm going to say it, you were a slumlord and you didn't know it and didn't mean to be.
Correct.
Eesh.
Yeah.
Youch.
Yeah, like the way
Youch. Youch.
that
I
the
mean,
tenants were being treated, like that did not
yeah.
align with my values.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love to hear you say that. You know, I no judgment. It's just like, oh my gosh, because I live in a neighborhood that we have we have some of those situations going on, and we have a lot of houses that are flipped, and then the sewer line collapsed. So that's why I
Yeah.
bring up sewer lines. What's the most expensive thing you can do? Ooh. I mean, really, like the relationship capital that you had built with these folks that you brought on as investors. I mean, how did you feel about the way that they were treated?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was the worst time of my life by far
Yeah.
because, I referred people with my good name into something that
Hmm.
was working. It was apparently to me for the first
Yeah.
year and a half, it was legit. It was simple model, right? You buy a property and you get rent. I mean, that's what you're expecting. You don't think of that there
Yes.
could be anything nefarious going on. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was shocking. It was, man, it was the worst. That was the most, that period of time, from that 2 year period, I want to say that it took us to kind of get the ship righted and get everybody as whole as we could. That was the most I've ever drank in my life. And I fortunately didn't become an alcoholic or anything. I didn't have a massive abuse problem, but yeah, I turned to that to try to just cope. I didn't know what else to do. It was so bad.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, those days, those weeks when you were putting all the pieces together, worrying about your tenants, your investments, your friendships that you had gone, you know, that you had referred in and said, "Hey, let's do this together. Hey, let's, you know, this is legit." What were the feelings? Like what was the emotional roller coaster that you were going through on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis?
Well, my philosophy in life is I take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to me. I'm the one who referred them to this operation. So I felt a bit of responsibility to try to help them to get out of it without, losing their shirt. So,
Yeah.
and when I look back on it, Stephanie, I took that way too far. I mean, I didn't need to like
Mm.
almost ruin my own life, right? To make them
Yeah.
whole. I shouldn't have taken it on to the level that I did and feeling the guilt that I felt. They were big boy, big girl investors. They could have just put their big girl pants on and said, yeah, you know what? I invested this money. I made the decision. It wasn't Jack's fault. This guy is the one who screwed us. We had a chance to
Yeah.
thoroughly check them out. So instead of thinking like that, I felt like, oh, I had to save the day and be the super.
Mm.
I had to be the superhero, and I just didn't want anybody to not like me or to think bad about me, And
Yes.
I should have just said F it and, hey guys, I'm so sorry. It didn't work out. Investments sometimes don't work out. Let's just I'll do the best I can to help you to get out of this. But, I'm apologizing, but this wasn't me, right? That's the way I probably should
Yes.
have taken it on. But I would take people's property and take money out of my own pocket. I'd fix up their property so that I could try to force the value up and get it to where they weren't just selling a dilapidated property for pennies on the dollar, right? Like,
Hmm.
in addition, at that time, I mean, there were 1,000 properties that hit the market that were all dilapidated, that were all these investors that were trying to unload them. So I knew
Yep.
that was happening. So I didn't want my investors to be selling into that mess where now, they're going to get even much lower sales prices than even ever before, just because of that amount of, supply hitting the market. So I took a lot of money and fixed people's properties up. A lot of them I sold off through our company, commission free, even to where we didn't even make any money on the capital that I put reinvested in their properties, into the, getting the commission for selling them. That was
Wow.
extremely financially difficult for a young company that was only 2 years old to be able to absorb. So I had to take a lot of money out of my other business, my other, income stream, and essentially throw it at this to try to, make things right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You did take on a heavy burden.
Yeah. Yeah. It was bad.
Wow. Yeah. In addition to some of those decisions, what were the other decisions that you had to wrestle through during this time as it relates to either relationships or trying to keep the business afloat?
Well, I have a fierce desire to win in everything that I do. I mean, if you look at all those personality tests, you're laughing because
Yes.
you can relate, right? Kindred
Yes.
spirits. And, what I've discovered is like your greatest assets, your greatest strengths are at the same token. I mean, they're also your greatest weaknesses too. I mean, everything in life has polarity. We have
Yes.
good and evil. We have hot and cold. We have, tall, short. We have all these things that everything in life has as an equal opposite. And so that was just the case. I mean, my greatest strength was competition, and that also, in that period of time, that became my biggest weakness because I was so competitive that I'm like, I'm not losing on this. We're going to make this happen. I'm not accepting any sort of defeat. Well, sometimes you should just lick your wounds, take your defeat, and move on. You lost the battle, but you don't need to lose the war. And I just went all in, and man, it was so stressful because I'd have to sell off my own properties that I had that were, some of them were good properties. I had to sell them off and figure out how to flip property to create income, to then, take on the next project to try to bail the next person out. So that was the other problem, was just the intense cash flow in, or lack thereof, or intermittent cash flow problem that I was experiencing. And, look, I trusted in God, and that was what got me through. I said, what, I'm going to put this on your shoulders. And every time we needed a sale at the right time, we needed some capital, it happened. It would just come at the exact right time that we needed it. So I was definitely guided by divine providence through it. I'm convinced of that. And, I'm grateful for that. He wanted me to learn a lesson, I think, but he didn't want me to get completely crushed. So that was what happened. And at least I'm alive today. Alive. I'm grateful for that.
I can see that. Yes. and still thriving, I would imagine.
No more than ever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, let's take a quick break. I want to come back and let's dive into why you're bigger, better, stronger because of that insanity that you went through. All right. Well, we take a quick break from this amazing conversation today. I want to share with you a new tool that I have for you. I think that there's a myth in our workplaces. Well, let me say this. I know there's a myth in our workplaces that meetings have to suck, and I don't believe that whatsoever. By all accounts, our time in meetings have doubled, if not more, since the start of the pandemic. And this time with your colleagues should not be a waste of time. It should be the most valuable. So if you're looking for more resources to lead meetings that are productive, powerful, impactful, and have everyone participating, get over to my website at stephaniecrevens.com/lead kick-ass meetings and get some new tools so that when you leave a meeting with your colleagues, you're not left going, what the actual F was that? You're going, yes, we're going to take on the world together. Let's get this done, because it was an unbelievably powerful meeting. Those tools are out there for you, my friends, and they're on my website today stephaniecrevens.com/lead kickass meetings. Now, let's get back into that conversation. So, Jack, you had to make some really expensive decisions through that time as it related to finances, as well as, I would imagine some of your worst fears were around your relationships that you had with these folks and caused you to, I'm going to use the word overstep, but, go from 100% responsibility, accountability for every decision you make to being their superhero. And I know in my own life, I've definitely felt the desire to take 100% accountability for every decision that I make and then overstep and think, oh, well, I can solve all problems. I can solve any problem. I can solve your problem plus my problem plus 10,000 other people's problems, and everyone's going to love me for it. How do you know what your line is between 100% responsibility and wearing your cape for too long, being everyone's superhero?
Well, I haven't been put in a position even nearly close to that since then. I think we wrapped that up.
Thank God.
Yeah, no kidding. We wrapped that up around, I want to say 3 years ago, 2 years ago, somewhere like that. So, I mean, I haven't been put in a situation where I've needed to be the superhero. So I don't really know, like, how am I going to respond? I can definitely say that the response would definitely be different because, yes, I take 100% responsibility, but I'd also be more aware that, well, you need to take 100% responsibility too. Like, you made a decision to invest.
Yes.
I did not force you or cajole you or manipulate you into doing it. I laid out the opportunity. You had a chance to do your own research. So I would have looked at it more along those lines, yet not tried to solve their problem completely and entirely for them at my own detriment and at my business partner's detriment. That's another part, that my business partner, who had 50-50 equity, I mean, he was so amazing because he understood how valuable it was for me to preserve the relationships and the relationship capital. Whereas he could have just said, Jack, like, you just got to let them all go. But he was very supportive. He worked with me, he helped me on a lot of those, projects that we were doing to get, everybody whole. So he understood my values, and he had similar values, but these weren't his investors. These were all people that I brought in personally before we even formed our partnership. So it says a lot about the character of my partner. And, it made us even closer, though, as partners, too, because we realized, like, hey, we're in the battlefield trenches and we've got each other's backs. Like, incredible. I mean, we're brothers. It's like we're brothers, right?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of relationships that people get a chance to have like that throughout their lives. That's a really rare thing, when you have somebody that you can really trust to that level in business and with finances. And, so there's a lot of great things that came out of it, a lot of lessons that I've learned that I'm grateful for. And a lot of people say, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, I'm not going to say that. Those words will never come out of my mouth. If I had the flux capacitor fired up in the DeLorean, I'm firing back and I'm doing some things differently. Trust me.
Yeah. I appreciate your honesty. I like that. So when you're looking for new partners, new relationships now, how do you know when your values are being violated?
Typically I feel like I have pretty good instincts about people, but yet, we made another wrong move. There was a guy that we hired as a project manager, and we should have background checked him. And, we didn't. My business partner had known him for several years, and I just kind of said, oh, okay, well, you know him and you vouch for him, but we made the same mistake. We should have background checked him. It would have revealed some things about him that I think would have made us at least pause and say, I don't know about this. Let's dive a lot deeper into making sure this is the right hire. So we still make mistakes like that again. And look, we're human. I have to just forgive myself. My business coaches, they told me one day, they're like, look, you need to go back in time and just really replay a conversation to have to yourself from, you today, travel back in time mentally, emotionally to 6 years ago, and just forgive yourself and just say, look, you're doing the best that you could with the information you had at that time, and you made the best decisions that you could. And, you made mistakes. Okay. Like that's part of the human experience. Like if we're not doing that,
Yeah.
then, we're not really alive. We're not taking risk. We're not really trying to do anything, spectacular with our lives. So
Yes.
that's a big takeaway.
Ah, I love that. I agree. And just to touch on it, because I think, in American culture, like our use of alcohol has gotten really wonky. During the pandemic, people joked about all the wine they were drinking at night, and
Yeah.
and I'm not, I'm not here to judge it, but I do know that alcohol or any substance, I mean, hell, even coffee, right? Like these are things that alter us or numb us or, pump us up. What do you know now about your alcohol use during that time that maybe wasn't the best choice and help you recognize maybe you need to make other choices when you're going through tough situations?
Yeah, oh wow, it's such a great question. And look, yeah, there's no judgment from me either. I mean, to anybody in the
Mm-mm.
audience, if you're struggling with any sort of addiction, I mean, addictions take place in a lot of different forms, and I would say most humans are
Yes,
addicted to something. I was
absolutely.
I was totally addicted to work. To I wanted to prove myself that I was somebody that deserved a high level of respect, and that drove me to work 12 to 14-hour days. The reason I got into business in the first place is so I could have an incredible quality of life with my family. Yet I'm here in the office until midnight, and then they're out there in the living room, and I'm not paying any attention to them. So that was maybe the
Mm-hmm.
biggest change that I made after, solving all the problems and getting through this, is that I pretty much, I'm typically done at 5 and hit the gym, hang out with the fam, and then hang out or have dinner with the fam, then hang out with the fam in the evenings. And I'm happier. And yeah, am I going to go as fast in business? No. But you know what? It doesn't matter to me that much anymore. So
Yeah.
addiction, though, I mean, it was work for me. That caused problems. Some people have addictions to food.
Mm-hmm.
Food is their drug, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they turn to. Some people it's alcohol, some people it's porn, some people it's gambling, some people it's
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, there's a long list.
Yes.
And
Shopping.
shopping, I was just going to say shopping. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a financial coach, so that's definitely one thing I see is the Amazon truck arriving every single day for a lot of people, probably us too much as
Yes.
well, but we've earned the right to do that. So the thing is that you kind of got to look at what are some potential addictions or things that are kind of taking over my life, and are these serving me? And then how can I grow as a human and grow through these so that, I can get these things out of my life so I can live a more balanced, fulfilling, and more sustainable long-term perspective on life. So,
Yes.
by far, biggest learning lesson through the whole thing is that it definitely made me say, yeah, this wasn't worth it. All the money that I made and then lost some of it back, not that big of a deal. Almost, I wouldn't say almost losing my family, but I wasn't at that stage quite yet. But if I kept going down the path I was on, that probably would have happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No. Amazing. Yeah. Great lessons. I think it's sometimes only those hard things that we reflect on can we realize exactly what we were doing to ourselves, to our families, and that sustainable piece for people who are really hard chargers, myself included. I I don't know what a sustainable pace looks like, and I'm in the process personally of trying to figure that out. Because we want to adopt babies and all of that stuff, and
Mhm.
working hours and hours and hours and hours a day, like there's grace my husband gives me most of the time, not all of the time, but like, and just energy wise, I hit 40 and my energy drastically changed. Like how I worked at 25 is not going to work at 45.
Oh, that's
And
for sure.
yeah, and I didn't know till I didn't know. And I don't want to keep living like that. Like you said, it's just not worth it. It just isn't. And I
Yeah.
love my job. I love the people I work with, all of it. But
I'm totally with you. I mean, I just turned 45 a month ago, and I've been thinking to myself, like, if I ever had to start over from scratch, right? Like, yes, I've got the
mm-hmm.
knowledge and the experience, and I know how to do it much more efficiently. But then again,
Mm-hmm.
would I be able to actually drive something to the point again, like build it all over again from this spot? And I'm like, no. Why? I don't have the same level of energy that I did when I was 25, 30, even 35.
Yep.
It does change.
Yep.
And, that's how nature designed it, right? Like you're not supposed to go hard
Yes.
charging for 40 years your entire life. You are supposed to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yes. Yes.
Imagine that.
Oh, yes. That's my mantra of this year is like, have more fun. Like, just have fun. And if it's not fun, we're not going to do it. I'm just over it. So
I wish I could figure out how to get all of my accounting out of my life, but that's not fun to me. But I haven't quite figured out how to do that completely yet. But I'm with you. I mean, I'm trying my best too. I mean, I want everything to be fun at this point and
yeah.
enjoyable. And if it's not, like, why am I doing it?
Yes. Yeah. And like, just to acknowledge, right? Like, I'm not talking superficial fun. Like, there's a shit sandwich that comes with every single job. And this job, we accept the shit sandwiches that come along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Every
course.
job has one. It's,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there's nothing
Yeah.
perfect. I mean, you're gonna have everything
Mm-mm.
that you take on, any new project, any new endeavor. I mean, maybe it looks like the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, but that always comes with whole new host of problems that you have to figure out, and a whole new list of
Absolutely.
things that you don't want to do and don't enjoy doing.
Yes. 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 So, two last questions. I'll let you get back to changing your part of the world here. As it relates to relationship capital, and I keep saying that because you're the first person in my life who's used those terms, and I love that. I love it. I just think it's unbelievably powerful. What do you know now about relationship capital that you didn't before this hot mess?
I can honestly say nothing has really changed as far as that goes. I still value that as much than or more than economic capital. And look, if you look back
Mm-hmm.
on why did I do what I did? Like, why did I try to take money out of my own pocket, fix people's homes up, and sell them at a higher price commission free? Well, I think the answer is pretty obvious. I valued my name, I valued my relationship capital more than I did money because I looked at that as the long-term way to really, be able to create a tremendous amount of success. Robert Kiyosaki says, and I agree, I mean, the rich build networks and everybody else looks for work. And that's,
Mm,
anybody that's looking for a job or looking for work, that's not meant to be detrimental or condescending. It's just facts of the matter is if you really want to build extensive wealth, you need to be focusing on building relationships and a network.
mm-hmm.
So that is still the same. I still value that. I'm doing for example, we're capital raising right now for a syndicated opportunity. It's one of the best things I've ever seen in the last 25 years. And, I'm calling and texting people, and it's really interesting to see who ghosts me and then who really does value the relationship that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning a
Mm-hmm.
lot about what were the relationships that I thought were good and which ones really are good.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, Maya Angelou says when people show you who they are the first time, you should believe them.
Yeah.
And I've taken that to heart because I believe the same thing. Any professional, the only reason that they are successful is because of the people who helped them along the way. And our network is the only thing that we own from role to role, job to job. You know, it's the only transferable piece of wealth that we can take with us regardless of where we go. When folks ask me like, how do I find a new job or how do I do this? It's build your network because none of us does any of this work alone. Like it's physically, financially, everything impossible. but we like to pretend that oh, well, I did this. We don't get to do any of our work unless our clients say yes and say, yes, we want your help. Like that's a form of help to us because we exchange services for their finances fuel our business. Like that's never lost on me. Like we don't get to do any of this unless other people say yes.
That's a really good point. I mean, the whole part of business boils down to the fundamental premises. You're in business to make somebody else's life better. You're in business to help somebody solve
Yes.
a problem. You're in business to help
Yes.
somebody get from where they're at, point A, to where they want to be in life, point B, right? So
Yes.
as long as we remember that and value that and hold that as the top, long term, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. So last question for you, and then we'll get back to doing our thing here. But what do you wish that senior leaders in other companies, I know it sounds like you were running a relatively small business in the grand scheme of things, doing amazing work, but what do you wish that other senior leaders and other organizations knew what it takes to be in your position, to be that CEO, to put so much on the line on a daily basis?
Well, I was just reading about this the other day. Somebody made the point of like, if you're in a position of leadership and where you have responsibility, then there's just no way around it. You're going to have lots of problems to solve all the time. So, for anybody that's in a leadership position, that's running a organization, you have to know that your job is simply to guide the ship and steer through the daily problems that you get. And it's completely inevitable that you're going to get them. And the degree that you're able to navigate and solve those problems and put the resources in the right places, that's the degree at which you're going to be able to grow. So I'm very cognizant of the fact that, we needed to, for example, in our real estate business, we needed to make some changes. And where we're at today is pretty remarkable compared to, where we were just 3-4 years ago dealing with the hot mess.
Yeah. Wow. Good stuff. All right. Well, Jack, thank you so much for this opportunity to get to know you better and hear what you're up to and for sharing this gargantuan hot mess with us. My
I'd
goodness.
love to share before we go the happy ending to the
yes,
story,
please.
right?
Oh, yes, please do. Yes, please do. Yes.
I mean, I don't want to portray myself only as, the guy who figures out to create hot messes, right?
I never thought that, but yes, I appreciate the reinforcement.
Yeah. So we completely shifted our model and just learned, look, we want to be in higher property classes, meaning higher quality properties, higher quality tenants. They don't look as good on paper. They don't have as good of cash flow returns, but in the end of the day, they do perform a lot better, more consistently. So we completely revamped the model. We started a property management company so that we could be in control of the property management and apply our values and ethics to that business for our investors. We started a construction arm company that we're in control of the construction. And, if anybody misappropriates money, that's on us and we cover it. And there's no hiccup for the investor whatsoever. And we did a lot of business last year. I mean, we did 5 million in fix and flips. That's not a gargantuan amount in the real estate world, but for fix and flips, it was pretty good. And we bought a tax firm so that we could help all of our investors with their tax strategies and all the various high level strategies that they could do to be able to save the most in taxes possible. And we've done so many things. We're actually in the process of raising money for a car wash syndication. I'm extremely excited about it. Looks like the returns are going to be in the 30s, 40% range. It's just insane. So we're adding on a lot of additional buckets of ways to create value for our clients and ways to help them get stronger returns, pay less in taxes, have less management situations where they can really be a passive investor. We actually just closed a deal at the very last day of the year, December 30th, 31st. We closed a $1.2 million deal that we're about to get paid on. And
Wow.
one thing I was thinking about just yesterday, because we're trying to figure out how much, we made and what we're going to get paid out. I'm like, wow, that was really easy for that, how much money that we're making. Why? Oh, that's karma. That's for me. That's karma. That's the way I look at it. That's for all the things that I did that I didn't get paid on, but I treated humans with integrity. I treated them the absolute best that I possibly could. I took care of them. And I feel like, well, we're just getting the fruits of that kind of labor. We're getting the payoff, the long-term payoff now. And that's the only real way to play the game in business is you got to be in it, play the long game. It will work out for you. If you take shortcuts, if you do things that anytime it compromises your values or your ethics, it's just not going to create a sustainable long-term blessing. You want to create blessings. And I look at it as I'm accumulating kind of credits whenever I do something good that maybe costs me or it doesn't really make me money. But if I'm doing something good and I'm doing it the right way, then I'm building up all these credits that I'm going to get this big payoff later on. And that's exactly what happened. So we have a real exciting company now, and I'm proud to have it. I wasn't proud of it a few years ago, but I'm very proud of what we've been able to do and how we've mitigated, the risks that we had. And wow, Stephanie, there is a lot of good that can happen when you get through your hot messes. For anybody listening, when you're going through something tough, on the other side of that are some incredible lessons and some incredible blessings. Just stay the course.
Yes, agreed completely. I mean, even your energy of talking about what's happening now is night and day than going through that hot mess. So thank you for reliving that for us. Cause I mean, it sounds miserable. And now here we are. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, it was terrible. And I also, through it, I took a solid year off during the COVID lockdowns. Like I really wasn't active in any of my businesses. And I realized at that time that I was really missing fulfillment. I wanted a way to give back. So I started a new financial education company called Indestructible Wealth. It's everything I do is at myindestructiblewealth.com. And my goal was just to teach people how to avoid these types of situations in their investing lives. Like, how do you build smart and avoid mistakes that can be really detrimental and that can set you back, multiple years? Just leverage off my experience and I'll teach. And yet most of the young people, they don't listen. A lot of them seem like they just want to figure it out for themselves and go through the same stuff.
Yep.
And I'm here to help the ones that want to listen.
Yes. Yes. And that's why this podcast is here too. It's like, why learn the hard way when we can learn from the amazing things that you've been through? I agree completely. So, well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us and sharing how you've turned that situation into, I mean, it sounds like indestructible wealth for yourself and then sharing these lessons with so many other people. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on. Thanks for the great interview.
So when I mentioned asset class at the beginning of this episode, my guess is that your brain did not go to relationship capital. But my friend, I don't know about you, but I've seen too many times in life and business that when I need someone I can trust to work with, when I need to go to, it's our relationship that pulls us through together, right? Jack talked about those folks that trusted him and they went through they've been able to stay working together and trust each other to build even more business together because of the trust, the overlapping values, the sense that, man, you got my back, I got your back. That was my top takeaway from my conversation with Jack. The second one is that you can bear 100% of the responsibility, but you don't have to be the superhero that carries it all the time, right? Like picture Superman trying to carry kryptonite around with him all the time. No one else can handle kryptonite, but he's going to carry it around and weaken himself at his own expense. There's this version that Jack talked about, or this need to people please. And while you can have 100% responsibility and accountability, The secret to his success has also been asking others to have 100% responsibility and accountability too. And finally, my third takeaway from my conversation with Jack is, as a leader, your job is daily problem solving, and your growth depends on your problem solving ability. If you're not making mistakes, you're not living and you're not learning. That's how we know that we're in it, not that we're wrong or bad, or stupid, or can't figure it out. Making mistakes equals learning. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for this. All right, my friend, I would love to hear your lessons learned wherever you're listening or watching in. Now let's get back to those impactful projects that demand our best selves, and I'll see you soon.